Hi there, greetings and salutations. I lowered my chair today so that we're on an equal playing field for the first time in how long have we been doing this show, Derek?
This is August, right?
Yeah.
We started in August of 2011.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So
Happy
this is
12 years, pal.
a dozen years, huh?
Yeah.
That was 12 years ago.
This show is going to be a teenager here pretty soon.
I remember the first week we did the show, and I'm like, wait, this guy keeps talking.
I remember the first
week. Did they not give him the memo?
We did the show, and I actually went in Buzz's, our old boss who hired us, office, and I said, Buzz, can you just tell me and shoot me straight here, just be honest with me. The show is called Query and Schultz, right? Because it was just you.
Was Buzz aware of it?
Well, judging from the smell in his office, I'm not sure that was of utmost concern to him.
You know what? Cool dude, man.
Great dude. Changed my life. Happy for
He was
Buzz.
a cool guy. Hi there. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network as we now enter year number 12, I guess, together, which is a lot of sports, a lot of conversations, and a lot of terribly tragic and pathetic stories about the life of one Derek Schultz that we have gone.
I think other people feel that way. But 12 years is still 50% short of what the Big Ten is going to be in 2024. I thought we'd lead with that, Jake, because the Colts camp conversation, yes, we talked a lot of Jonathan Taylor and Colts last week. We'll make time for that later in the show. But am I right in saying that was the biggest storyline of what's happening right now and of last week?
Let me tell you, Derek, what I was told, and I'm not saying that in like who knows? These things are constantly evolving and changing. It goes back to probably 5 years ago when you had one of your great lines of all time when you said the conference realignment carousel began spinning and then the Pac-12 commissioner threw up, right?
Yeah, because that was when they could have added Texas and Oklahoma, and they chose not to.
Right.
So that was 10 years ago.
It didn't work out so well.
That was 2012.
Let me tell you what I was told when USC and UCLA were surprisingly announced for the Big Ten.
Last summer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to somebody that was part of that exact merger, like directly talked to right afterwards. And they said, here's the deal. The Big Ten called USC and said, hey, USC, Big Ten here. How you doing? We're good, good. Listen, we'd like to have you join us for football. Now, the Big Ten, Derek, wanted USC for football for two reasons. Number one, it's USC. Actually, three reasons. One is it's USC. Two, it's in the West Coast LA market. Yeah. And if you look at the Big Ten Conference, they have the Big Ten Network. And that has more home penetration, in other words, availability on more cable markets and networks and streaming and everything else than any other conference television network. And they wanted to be able to then put their footprint and their stranglehold in the Pacific time zone and get primetime games all the way across in all areas. So they go to USC and they say, we want you. And USC says, okay, but we don't come alone. We need a travel partner for finances and other such things. UCLA's got to come with us. Sure. Now, conventional wisdom is basketball, right?
Yeah.
Big Ten doesn't care about basketball. It's all about football.
Conventional wisdom is also academics, which USC and UCLA bring to the table, but
right.
I think as we've seen, I'm not sure academics really matter much anymore.
Well,
either, at least in some conferences.
So this person told me, they said, Jake, UCLA and USC are in. And the next wave, there are going to be two other waves. I said, okay. They said the next wave is either the two Arizonas or Oregon, Washington. And Oregon, Washington's the priority because Oregon brings the Nike money. And they have some cachet football-wise, and certainly Washington does too.
Two nice markets, too, when you Portland and Seattle, top 25 markets.
So they said, so this person told me Oregon and Washington are next. And then the final piece, which will be 2 years after that, Stanford and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people have said, Derek, and hear me out on this, and I'm going to sound crazy, okay? I know a lot of people have said, well, Notre Dame is never going to do this because they want to stay independent, and I understand that. And I'm not saying that Notre Dame can't stand on its own two legs independently. Clearly it can. But once you get the Big Ten with 20 schools in it, or 18, as it stands right now, right? And the Big 12 and then the SEC are both going to have, 16, 18 schools.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame runs the risk. I know you're going to laugh. Notre Dame runs the risk of being forced to join a conference so they can build a schedule. Because once you have everybody in an 18 or 20 team conference, what that means is they don't have the weekend games available to do out-of-conference games. And Michigan is going to say, look, we know it's a great tradition to play Notre Dame, but we got a 10-game schedule as it is in our conference.
And it's already brutal.
Right.
Yeah. Look, we're already playing USC
correct.
and Oregon.
Same with Michigan State. Same with
Yeah.
Purdue. And then you say, okay, no problem. Then we'll just call USC. USC says, hey man, we don't have room in our schedule.
Same problem.
So this may back Notre Dame into having to join a conference just to build a schedule. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, in the end, I think Stanford and Notre Dame are coming. And then in Cal, I think Stanford would like to have Cal with them. That's the other curveball. Do you go then Stanford, Cal, and then Notre Dame with like a Pitt? I don't know.
I think, and this is going to – maybe it doesn't sound crazy because the Pac-12 no longer
At this point,
exists,
nothing
right?
sounds crazy.
Yeah. I think Cal might have to drop football. Apparently, their athletic department is already hemorrhaging money. They've got debt that they can't pay.
They just redid their stadium. Yeah.
They're in big trouble. And plus, I know Cal is a fantastic academic institution. They win championships out the wazoo. In the revenue sports, you could argue they're the most underachieving, irrelevant major athletic program in the entire country.
Right.
I mean, Cal men's basketball,
How
Cal
about this,
football,
Derek?
when have they ever been relevant?
University of California has produced more Super Bowl starting quarterbacks than any school in
Isn't that
college
crazy?
football.
Yeah, and they've had good players and NBA-wise come through there. Jason
right.
Kidd and Sharif Abdurrahim.
Jaylen Brown.
So it is a little bit strange. I hadn't thought about Notre Dame, honestly, with all the chaos of last week. But what I would say to their independence, you can never say never, but they're going to have to be forced to join a league before they would do it on their own volition. And I think as this expands, the reasons for Notre Dame
Derek,
staying
I think it's
independent-
possible they're going to be forced.
The reasons for Notre Dame staying independent are, one, money, right? Well, suddenly, if you can make more money as a Big Ten school, that goes out the window. Two, freedom to schedule whoever they want. Well, if USC and Stanford and Purdue and Michigan State and all these traditional rivals are already in the Big Ten and in your conference, why not just join the conference, right?
Right.
So I think those are the two biggest things, and a path to the playoff, and you get that in the Big Ten. You know, you're talking about the schedule, Jake. What if, let's say Notre Dame digs their heels in and says, you know what, we're going to stay independent. What's to stop the Big Ten and SEC from saying, fine, the next time that we renegotiate the college football playoff, we're not going to put a spot for you. You have to be the at-large teams have to be part of the company. They could do that. And then suddenly Notre Dame shut out of the playoff.
Or what if the Big Ten says to Notre Dame, that's fine. That's fine. You want to be independent, that's fine. Our schools just won't play you.
Yeah, and you won't be able to make the playoff because they're not going to have a spot, or you're not going to play enough good teams to earn a spot. So yeah, I think we will. Here's the next step of this, Jake, and this is projecting out. I think the Big Ten deal is 7 years. The next step in this is Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, Michigan. Those schools, they get together at the table and they say, "Why are we lifting up Mississippi State?
I totally agree.
Why are we lifting up Vanderbilt? Why are we lifting up Northwestern? Why are we lifting up Rutgers? Let's just do our own thing. We don't have to split the party that many ways."
Listen,
and I also worry about where Indiana and Purdue factor in.
There have not been many things that I have said on our radio show over a dozen years that I look back on and go, I'm going to pat myself on the back on that. Okay?
Yeah.
But I remember around 2015 or so, we were having a discussion. I think it was probably around that Texas time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was spitballing. And you probably remember me saying this. I said, Derek, you ever go into the Lids or Hat World? I think then it was called Hat World. I said, you ever go into Hat World in Albuquerque? And you walk in and, yeah, sure, they got some New Mexico State stuff on the wall.
But it's the same teams.
But then it's North Carolina, Notre Dame, USC, Michigan, Penn State, Alabama, right? And I remember saying then.
Oregon.
Remember what I said? I said, what stops those schools from saying, What are we doing with all these other jokers? Let's start our own super conference and secede from the NCAA. Now, does that seem crazy to you now?
No, nothing. Again,
literally the Lids League.
Crazy.
That's what I'm going to call it, the Lids League.
Nothing seems crazy. But you know what? An offshoot, and look, we're projecting way out, and we're hypothesizing here. I have no idea. You have no idea. No one has any idea what the future holds here. But I do wonder if we do go that way, that suddenly the other leftover schools recalibrate the old leagues.
Right.
And, Indiana, Purdue, Iowa, Wisconsin all get together and they start playing each other again.
Can you imagine
what the new Big Ten is?
And by the way, this program, Corey and Schultz, I should have mentioned off the top, we are thrilled to be partnered with Bailey & Wood. Bailey & Wood is the sponsor for this program, the presenting sponsor for Corey and Schultz, which we are not only appreciative of, but quite frankly, honored to be a part of what they do in terms of keeping your money in Central Indiana and giving back to the community. That includes, Derek, their golf outing, which is coming up this coming week.
Thursday.
We're going to be there, right?
Yep, Dice Walk, South Side. So if you are going and watching this, feel free to come up and say hello. Jake and I are going to be emceeing a few of the events, doing some of the intros. And
now, I'm going to Bruce
shaking some
Springsteen
hands,
at
kissing
Wrigley
some
the
babies.
night before, so what time do I need to be there? I might be a little tired.
Well, you're coming off the morning show, right? So
Personal day.
Oh, no morning show.
No morning
on
show.
Thursday. Okay. Yeah, 9 a.m.
I thought you told me 10.
Well, I originally said that when I thought you were doing the show.
Well, then I'm doing the show. So I get up the air at 10, and then what time do I need to be at?
No, I think they wanted us in the tee box by 10:30.
Okay.
So you
That's
got
doable.
you got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little bit early because they do a great breakfast spread down there. It's an amazing. Everyone does a golf outing now, but Mike Wood and his team.
Oh,
do it
it's
right.
amazing.
It's all the bells and whistles and the food and
listen,
the drinks. It's amazing.
And that is largely to generate money that stays right in helping out the people of Whiteland in particular.
Oh yeah,
a community that's been hit hard.
That's their whole MO, is to produce money for the communities that they're in. And Bailey & Wood is everywhere throughout Central Indiana.
How do you get a hold of them?
BAWFG.com 855
little slower.
350 home.
Little slower.
B.
Yeah.
A. W.
Here we go.
F. G.com.
Okay. Bailey and Wood Financial.
855-350 home.
Right.
Yep.
What were we talking about?
We were projecting out of what the future would hold, and you had mentioned the Lids League. I guess something else that we should talk about, Jake, is how in this process.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Hold on, I'm cutting you off. I realize. The Mountain West is the one that it's rumored that in the interim that Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, Washington State go to the Mountain West. It's almost like because it's I guess that's
where else are you going to go?
Yeah. But that would be like Stanford going to the Mountain West. Nothing against San Jose State and Boise State and UNLV academically. But I looked it up. The U.S. News and World Report academic rankings, which are usually considered like the ones people kind of go by. Stanford's ranked third of all universities.
Yeah, San Jose State's what? Probably 342nd?
1,452.
Yeah.
UNLV's like 360.
How about this?
And that's that's perfectly sufficient and fine. I mean, it's a university. But Stanford is the elite of the elite of the elite. Like Notre Dame is not going to go to the MoVal. Right?
Can you imagine Stanford's track and field playing San Jose State or like Tulsa,
right,
or something like that?
Right.
They would sweep every event. I mean, they'd have the top 12 qualifiers probably.
I mean,
in every
it's
single
literally
event. They win the NCAA championships in everything else except the sports that drive revenue.
Right.
And Cal too. Cal's right. I mean, they produce Olympians for God's sake. It's sad. I think it's a testament to the Big 12 that they pulled themselves off of life support, because we were all ready to pull the plug on the Big 12.
I'll give the Big 12 credit.
And they completely outplayed the Pac-12
they did.
in this poker game. And
now the Big 12 picked up who?
Arizona
State.
State, Utah, and then technically Colorado, even though that didn't come last week.
That's right.
Plus, they're adding UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, and what was Rick? What's the other one? I said UCF. There were four.
UCF,
Houston.
Yeah.
Houston is the other one that they had. Yeah. Okay. So really they're adding 8.
So
those other teams start this year. The other 4 that I mentioned,
okay.
UCF, Houston start I think this year, and then the other teams start the next year.
I mean, just amazing, right?
Yeah, and it's a league, honestly, that unlike the Pac-12, it doesn't really have any brands, you know?
Yeah. The Big 12 actually has a lot of schools that are unique in this regard, that are like equal in terms of their football and basketball prowess.
Yeah. But millions of people watch Oregon and Washington every week. Millions of people don't watch TCU.
Right.
Don't watch Baylor. Don't watch Iowa State, even though they have a nice size fan base, but it's small and it's niche. And I feel really bad for, or what happens to Oregon State and Washington State? Nobody wants them. We knew this going in, right? We were having this conversation about Kansas State and Iowa State.
Derek, I worry about this. And I say this as a testament, not as a detriment. Oregon State is the Purdue of the Pac-12. I mean, academically, I think they're similar. They're both land-grant schools. Oregon State has had good football teams, not necessarily always great.
Oregon State's not an AAU school, though, right?
They've been underrated in basketball. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
That's but I don't know that Oregon and Washington are. I don't know that. I don't know.
They are AAU schools.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there were two schools in the Pac-12 that weren't, and I think they're Washington State and Oregon State, I think. But anyway, yeah, it's all those schools, Jake. So what I would worry about if I was Indiana or Purdue, and Indiana's got a good brand, but they have a good brand because of basketball. What did Kansas's, if the Big 12 dissolved like it was supposed to 2 years ago, basketball wasn't going to save Kansas.
Correct.
So it's a real problem for those other schools. I think it's easy right now if you're Vanderbilt to be like, haha, look at you. And you realize, look, man, you're pretty soon probably going to be
So let me ask you this. What stops Indiana then? If you are Indiana, do you look at it and say, to quote Christopher Darden, the smoke's about to get heavier. It's about to get real here. We're about to pick up UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington, eventually probably more. And there is the reality that these other schools are going to wonder why we're raking in all this Big Ten money and cashing in along with all these teams. The time is now. The money's about to be there. We're not worried about the money. What stops Indiana then from saying we are going to preemptively make the change right now and buy out Tom Allen? And because if you are a coach in college football right now, it's storming outside, and the Big Ten is letting people into the garage to get out of the rain.
Indiana's become a really attractive
Correct.
job because
Correct.
of the stability.
Because you're in the Big Ten. So if you are, I mean, I don't know what schools are out there that would be in danger of getting shut out here and what coaches that would make available. But, I mean, Indiana's marketability as a coaching job has never been bigger than it is probably right now.
Yeah. And you wonder how the ACC feels about all of this because now, I mean, has the Big 12 become the third league? If they leapfrog you and FSU's upset?
Derek, I think there were teams – I think there was talk of Clemson, Florida State. Who were the other there were Miami.
Yeah.
Miami, Florida, Clemson State Miami, Florida State, Clemson. I think there was talk from the other leagues of enticing of
the Pac-12.
There was a leak. Yeah. There was a leak of talking to those teams because I think what they were trying to do was dissolve the stability of the ACC to make Notre Dame start looking.
Yeah.
I think it was all
and you talked about Stanford and Notre Dame. If the Big Ten had its druthers and they wanted to get to 20, the two schools that they would choose, if they had their choice to choose any schools, are Notre Dame and North Carolina. Those are the two that they would choose. If they could just pick whoever they want.
I think Stanford's there.
North Carolina, I think, makes a lot of sense.
It does, and it's academically outstanding.
And you're already in California. North Carolina gives you something that you don't necessarily have right now. Whereas I don't know if Stanford really brings – I know it's a great academic school. I don't know what they bring to the table. And here's something else, while we're talking about Purdue and the other brands, what does adding Oregon and Washington do for Iowa?
Money. It brings money.
But you have the same share. You have the same share already. You have $70 million, right? You're adding another mouth to feed.
But I think
I guess
brings
you're stabilizing more of your league.
I think it brings, Derek, an advertising revenue increase because you can further cement that you have that entire time zone.
I just think, and I'm admittedly taking the contrarian point of view here.
Well, okay, if you're
I think it knocks you down the totem pole.
If you're Oregon or Washington, what's Iowa bring you?
Well, it's just you're on a sinking ship if you're Oregon and Washington. So you're grabbing the lifeboat by going to the Big Ten. But what I worry about, Iowa is a team.
Now, Oregon State and Washington State are still playing the violin, right? They're standing there like, we ain't going anywhere.
They're the dude in Titanic who had the smokestack fall on its face. Like that's basically R.I.P. to those two schools. But that's basically what we're talking about here. Iowa. It's not unheard of that they've competed for the playoff. They had that undefeated season that one year, and if they won the Big Ten championship, right, they could have gone to, I don't remember if it was the old BCS or I think it was the playoff at that point, because I think it was the year Michigan State made it. Oregon and Washington are both better football programs than you, and it makes your path harder, doesn't it?
Do you know Kyle Robbins?
Yeah.
He had a great tweet. Great tweet. The headline I looked at it. He
has a lot of great tweets.
1.5 million, whatever. And it said, "Follow me here." Because everybody's like, what are they going to do with these 20 schools in a conference? Where he said, follow me here. You divide the conference into two divisions, the Big and the Pac, and then you play the conference championship with the two divisional winners playing each other in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. And Big Ten, Pac-10, yeah.
Pretty solid.
I actually kind of like my idea better, expanding to 20s, to 20 teams, and then just calling it the Big Tens.
That's not bad.
Yeah, with an apostrophe, of course, because that's what we do here in Indiana.
No. It would just be TENS.
No, possessive.
No, there's nothing possessive about
it. C-O-L-T
no,
apostrophe
that's
S.
Coats, C-O-A-T-S.
Yes, that's right.
Coats for kids, right?
Kroger's. K-R-O-G-E-R-S. We are really happy about, a lot of things changing and things not returning. You know who has returned just in time for football season?
Hey, I ran into Randy Lewandowski. He's like, man, you guys are always eating sandwiches on your show.
Hell yeah, we are.
Randy said he goes for his walk at night and listens to the program, and he goes, man, it makes me hungry for Hoagies and Hops.
Our friends at Hoagies and Hops are back. I mean, we knew that they were going to come back. They always take a little bit of a summer sabbatical, but now that it's August, the hoagie eating contest is right around the corner. That is, let me make sure I have
Darren King's in on that. I can tell you that, man. He loves it. Can I go ahead and eat the sandwich before you describe it?
Just relax, buddy.
I'm hungry.
September 16th for the hoagie eating contest at Hoagies and Hops, and Darren King, our buddy Greg Poley was there. I was there. I did the eating contest too. It was ridiculous. The dude that won, his name is Korn, ate it in like 3.5 minutes. Like a giant sub. He beat Joey Chestnut's record of eating it. I have here the brotherly love. Turkey, ham, salami, provolone, lettuce, tomato, the delicious finely shaved onion.
Fabulous.
And the oil. Yeah, I didn't put oil on yours because I know you don't like oil.
Really good. Well, you eat so loud.
One of the signature Sandos. On Christina's menu.
I have a cat now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does a thing called trilling. Do you know what that is for a cat?
Rub your face on you?
No. It's kind of like a purring noise, but it sounds, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like a meow purr combo. And it's delightful when he does it. I mean, it's very charming and cute.
Mm-hmm. Just like me eating.
That sounds like what you're doing. But when you do it, it's disgusting.
I don't know. They've done studies on this. And if you're bothered by loud chewing, like somebody chewing gum or like a Jolly Rancher when I just crack them with my teeth, it actually means that you have something mentally wrong with you. Like you have like a wiring that's not right. It's not the person that's eating that there's something mentally wrong with.
What does your wife think of it?
You.
Like when you eat like we're trying to do an adult professional. What are you doing?
Good.
I know it's good, but my lord, dude, you're not trying to beat the guy's record.
I took a lot of the onion and lettuce
and
shaved onion with me. Sorry. My wife loves and supports everything that I do.
Yeah, okay.
We also
sure. Yeah, righto. Uh-huh.
We also have the Chili Water Brewing Brew of the Week, the Chili Water Brewing Tap Room right next door to Hoagies and Hops, 42nd and Boulevard, hoagiesandhops.com, chiliwaterbrewing.com. And this is, Jake, I went to the case, and I was like, it looks like you guys have some new stuff here. And Ethan
Dancing Teddy Bears
at Chili Water Brewing goes, bro, this is like brand new. Like we just put this in the case. And this is called the Loose Juicy. It's a double dry hop juicy pale ale. And I said, I'll try whatever you want me to in here. And he said, no, you got to try the new one because it's one of my favorites. So we're going to try it right here. It's got the Grateful Dead bears on there.
Excellent. Really, that's really good. That's like a light pale ale. It's got the hop, but it's smooth. That's really crisp.
Yeah. It's kind of, I'm always bad at describing my palate, even though I have an excellent palate. It's like clean.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, there's like no aftertaste.
Gee, I don't know. Light, crisp, pale ale.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you mention the word clean in there. So, yeah, light crisp is not clean. It's a clean beer. It's delicious. Great summer beer. And even though in Indiana, summer ends on July 31st now, this is good to at least enjoy for the next 6 or 8 steamy weeks that we have out there.
Really good.
So every single week we'll feature a hoagie, hero, and a brew of the week. So we've got the hoagie, the brotherly love. We've got the brew, the loose juicy, and our hero of the week. How about this? To tie it in locally, do you know Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, is an IU grad?
Really?
Yeah, Bloomington grad. I don't know.
Did a heck of a job,
Never
man.
knew that. I mean, he saved the league.
They taught him some savviness there at
the
the School of Business, right?
Yeah. He renegotiated the TV deal a year from expiration to outmaneuver the Big 12. And when the chum was in the water, he went after it. Whereas the Pac-12, I think either from equal parts arrogance and incompetence, the Pac-12 said, yeah, we've got the opportunity to pick the bones of the Big 12. We're not going to do that. We're kind of too good for those schools, right? That's what they said basically last year, either by what they said or what they didn't say. Brett Yormark just said, look, this is about survival. I mean, we got to expand. We got to add as many teams. I don't even think that they were worried about who they were adding because some of these schools, I don't really know what Colorado necessarily does for the Big 12, and I know that they have ties to the Big 12. Colorado's been terrible for a long time, or once proud brand. But Utah's a great ad. Utah is a fantastic athletic department. They've been a great football program, and they have a tremendous fan. I don't know if people realize Utah's got a huge following.
They do.
Huge following.
And they're good in football and basketball.
And they can't be thrilled about playing BYU again.
By the way, Derek, I'm going to look something up real quick.
Yeah.
As you were.
Is it mental studies about if something's wrong with you if I eat?
No, I'm well aware that you have issues there. Do you know what in the realignment?
Mm-hmm.
What two schools now will be the furthest geographically from one another?
UCF and Utah.
That is an excellent guess. UCF is in Tampa, correct?
Yeah. Isn't it UCF and somebody?
No. No more.
Colorado is east of Utah, right? Or north of?
Colorado.
Colorado's north of Utah?
Colorado is east of Utah. You are correct.
Yeah. No, tell me.
The University of Oregon and Rutgers.
Oh, so it's the obvious one.
Yeah.
See, I thought you asked that because it was something.
No, but that becomes. I mean,
different. Yeah.
So for a while there, Central Florida and BYU had the record for the furthest distance between two conference teams.
Yeah.
And it was broken before they ever played a game.
I mean, honestly, Jake, I just don't think that people think that this is going to happen every year. Oregon and Rutgers are going to play each other in women's soccer once every 7 or 8 years.
Right. I mean, they'll have like invitationals.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it's going to go. And you're also, when you're playing Oregon, you're going to play Washington too.
Correct.
Just like when you play USC, you're going to play UCLA too.
You know, I think about this, though.
The Big Ten basketball used to do that, right? Where they would have a weekend trip and they'd play like,
Wisconsin,
Minnesota, Wisconsin, or whatever. Yeah.
Think about this. If you were a top flight quarterback, you're a senior in high school, and you just 3 months ago signed a letter of intent for Arizona because you were like, I want to play in the Rose Bowl. I'm going to play at SC. I want to go up and play in Seattle. And now they're like, awesome. Now you get to go play at West Virginia and Central Florida and Ames, Iowa.
Can we interest you in Houston? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're an LA kid, because those schools all recruit to Utah. Utah recruits California like crazy. And now you don't play a California school in your new league, right?
Yeah.
So
The sandwich is amazing.
I don't think that matters as much now, Jake. When you and I were growing up, you'd go to a Big Ten school because you wanted your parents to actually see your games. Because 30 years ago, if you weren't in a Big Ten market, you generally weren't, unless you were on the ABC national game. Now, wherever you are, you're going to see these games.
When I was growing up, University of Chicago was in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that far long ago. It's sad. It's sad for I know Oregon State has a great fan base. Washington State has fans. I don't know if you'd call it a great fan base. It's sad for them to get left out. But again, I would just caution some of the other schools like Kansas State and Wake Forest and Rutgers that think, hey, we're sitting pretty good right now. It's very easy to see a scenario where those teams don't have a league anymore 10 years from now.
Where I most feel bad for Oregon State, aside from the fact that I've been on the campus and I have socks.
Yeah, you went to the game.
Yeah. I think Beavers are cute.
Yeah. They're very aggressive.
No, they're not. They're
extremely aggressive.
No.
Yeah.
No, Beavers are
very aggressive.
No, you've seen the video of the Beaver Rescue Group and they got beavers walking around.
I've seen beavers aggressively attack things on video, yes.
No. Beavers are
aggressive.
They're unbelievable. Beavers
very territorial.
Beavers and otters, love them.
I'm much more familiar with beavers than you are.
No. Trust me, that's definitely not true. Beavers, by the way.
What is your beaver expertise?
Okay.
I would guess, no, honestly, this has always kind of been a pet project. I have studied beavers more than you have.
People think beavers are aggressive. It's not that they're not aggressive. They just don't give a damn.
I've seen beavers up close and personal, and trust me, you do not want to be right up close to a beaver.
Oh, again. I don't know what beavers you've been looking at.
They give off pheromones as well, like a scent.
Pheromones.
Yes, that's what they are. See, you don't even know what word you're talking about here.
Okay.
This is how embarrassing this conversation is. We come back. Colts open up the preseason.
Pheromones.
We'll talk Colts and Bills, and we're not really going to talk about the game itself.
Did this beer properly ferment?
What we're looking for, we'll get that in post, Vince. 3, 2, 1. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
What are you touching my knee for? You touched my knee.
It meant take us back. I was still chewing. Hold on.
Let me tell you a couple of things that in my past life I never thought I would say. A couple of things I never, ever, ever thought I would say or hear in my lifetime. Okay? One of them would be,
you never thought you'd talk about beaver?
This Big Ten matchup between Penn State and Oregon, I never thought I'd say that, right?
That was the Rose Bowl.
That was.
In
Good Johnny
94.
Carter's year, yeah. I never thought I would say Houston is on its way for a Big 12 matchup tonight against Kansas State. Never thought I'd say that. I also never, ever, ever thought I would say that we were back here in year number 12 of this program. Partially because Derek makes me take it out of breaks because he's eating, and because he touches my knee. What are you doing?
We're entering year 13 of this program.
So we wrapped year 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to make sure you got that right.
Likewise. The second dozen. Right. We're in a baker's dozen.
So you never thought Cincinnati, who would play like Louisville and teams like that, are now going to have to play Central Florida.
The one thing that's a bummer is that Athletic
Utah.
American Conference, it was so easy to remember because it was just any college that was a city name.
It seemed ridiculous.
It's like Memphis, Cincinnati. It was Dayton in there, maybe Houston. It was just easy that way.
It's sad.
The
again,
sandwich is amazing.
To tie a bow on it, it is sad that the Pac-12 had real meaning. I mean, it is an entire geographic section of the United States that is now not represented. It's fractured, right? And will we still watch the game? Sure. Am I excited about USC playing Michigan? Yeah, of course I am. The fan in me is excited about it. There are pros that come from this, but there are also cons that will never be fixed. You can't break something and then glue it back together. You know, it's gone and it's dead, and we have to just suddenly kind of write a obituary for it. And it's hard to do.
Here's what's
unfathomable. That
here's the last thing I'll say that's devastating
that
about
dissolved.
this. When I was a kid, my dad taught me sentences to remember for every conference in the country, and like none of them. Give me a
made
conference.
sense, right? I remember the Big Ten's one. Tell me it again.
Oh, my ill mustache, Minnie, I put whisk in now.
Yeah.
The Pac-10 was Awacus. If you hit yourself really hard, you go, ow, and then a cuss. It was Oregon State, Washington State, Arizona State, California, California, Southern California. Wait a minute. The CUSS was California, USC, Stanford. I can't remember what the other S would have been.
It would have to have been California, UCLA, Stanford, Southern Cal.
That's it. See?
What
Thank you.
is cuss like? Is that swear? Is that how you guys say
yeah.
swear? Okay, yeah. I never.
What do you mean how we say swear? What am I like?
Cuss is a weird. It's a regional term. No one says cuss outside of like Indiana or Illinois, maybe.
I don't know. Too Short, who's like one of the greatest rappers ever.
You swear or you curse. Yeah, cuss isn't really a
Too
thing.
Short, who is
It's like tennis shoes.
Too Short from Oakland. He had an entire rap song called Cuss Words.
Too Short. I don't know that one.
You should.
Hey Young World. Was that Bedtime Story? Was that Too Short?
No, that was Slick Rick.
Okay. I don't remember. That era of hip hop was
Okay. That era that just had names like, I don't know, NWA and Public Enemy and
I didn't really connect
X-Clan
with that.
and Too Short and Slick Rick.
Hip hop basically started and evolved in New York City and the East Coast acts that none of which you mentioned right there that really kind of started that whole thing. Biggie and
Run
Nas
DMC
and that whole group. They were the ones that really kind of
okay.
got that thing going, popularized it. That's what I really connected with, hearing about the Queensbridge projects and things like that, because I grew up close to there.
QB? Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Well, suburban Connecticut was slightly different, but I connected with that. Let's talk Colts and not mention Jonathan Taylor.
Anthony Richardson is going to be the greatest quarterback ever. He had 2 straight practices where he was 4 of 6 and ran a flawless 2-minute drill. There you go.
You can see it, though, with Richardson. I'm not saying he's going to hit, but you can see why they think he's going to hit. Like, he shows you every once in a while, even in training camp, where he'll make a play and you're like, okay, I can see
Derek,
this.
my concern is this. And all signs, I understand the optimism. And he seems like a wonderful young guy. We don't know these guys, but he seems like a nice young player. And he's got the size. I mean, there's a lot to be intrigued about. Mm-hmm. Okay? You can teach footwork and improve it. You can teach mechanics and improve it. You can change a lot about a quarterback, and I think schematically they have a coach that's going to be really good at doing that. But in the end, the guy completed fewer than 60% of his passes in college. And typically guys that are 58% completion percentage guys in college are 58% completion percentage guys in the pros.
Here's
That's
the difference, though. The problem with the word typically is that typically quarterbacks aren't 6'4", 255.
You're right. No, you're right.
And that athletic to make up for it.
You're right.
You know, the problem is that every quarterback accuracy-wise, let's take Josh Allen out of it, but every other quarterback that you would compare Anthony Richardson to accuracy-wise were guys that didn't have the physical gifts that he has to make up for it.
Yeah,
What gives me faith about Richardson is that even if the pie-in-the-sky projection for him as a passer does not hit, I still think he can be an elite runner and a very effective football
Derek,
player.
And here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, and I'm only going this based on Shane Steichen's offense. I didn't watch enough to know, is Jalen Hurts a dead-eye accurate quarterback? I don't know, but the threat that he at any time can just pull the ball down and run with it helps him a lot, and they are going to have that aspect.
Yeah, I just think, we're talking about Anthony Richardson being Patrick Mahomes, and what if Anthony Richardson is, I don't know, Dak Prescott kind of level, right? Where I know that's not a great comparison, but like that tier of quarterback where Dak is under a lot of scrutiny basically all the time, but clearly he's, Tony Romo was like that. Tony Romo was a really good quarterback.
Dak Prescott's a good quarterback.
It sucks that he never won at the highest level that they wanted him to win, but he was a very, very good player.
Here is the biggest hesitation I have with Anthony Richardson. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen,
the conference that he plays in.
Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes.
Are we still throwing Russ Wilson in there?
No.
Okay.
That guy is more.
But that's not even, we're taking out a potential Hall of Fame quarterback.
But my point being, and a couple of those guys are older, I realize. Yeah. There are 3 or 4 the AFC for the next 4 or 5 years, it's a traffic jam. And I don't see anybody doing this. By the way, did you see this right here?
That's a problem just for the Colts in general.
Did you see this right here?
Is that your skin cancer or whatever?
Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, you did.
They're going to dig that out on Thursday. Do you want to?
Oh, it looks like it's already been digged out. It's kind of raw.
They slice off.
Okay.
I went in there and
that
said,
might just be your arm hair.
I went in there and said, I've got this little thing, and I think it was a pimple, but it was a blackhead pimple. And I'm very neurotic about my skincare, so that's rare that I get that. So they sliced it and then sent it in and said, oh, yeah, it's the squarosoma. And so now they got to go in and dig the rest of it out. They didn't seem overly concerned about it.
Yeah.
But do you think I can keep the little scab thing as a souvenir?
I wasn't really paying attention because a thought popped into my head. Can you just do me a favor here real quick? Mm-hmm. Can you just go like this with your collar of your shirt?
Why?
Let's go like this to the camera.
No.
Just pull it down just a little bit. Just your collar. No, like this.
Why?
Just pull it down and show the camera a little bit.
No.
Just do it real quick.
I'm not.
What are you scared of? I do it all the time on this show.
There.
Oh, do you trim it up a little bit?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh. You make fun of me for my body hair all the time, and I'm looking at your arms there, Mr. Lumberjack, and I know what you've got going on, chest hair when it's not groomed and back hair-wise. And you and I are brothers from another mother when it comes to growing body hair. So I don't know why you bust my chops about it all the time. The difference between you and me is that you are ashamed of the gifts that the good Lord gave you, and I celebrate mine.
Okay.
I'm very celebratory of my proud mane of chest hair.
I will tell you this.
And my body hair in general.
All it took was one time, Derek.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'll just admit this right to the camera. My name is Jake Query, and I'll be 51 in September. And about once a month, I actually get out clippers, and I trim my entire chest hair.
Wow.
You know why?
Because you're embarrassed.
It took one time. It took one time of then having to pull 18 wires off of me that had been glued to me with chest hair to say, never doing that again. That was less than ideal.
Well, what conditioner do you use? No, I'm serious. Like, what products do you use to strengthen the fibers of your body hair when you wash? Like, obviously you use soap, but then you get into the conditioning process. What do you use?
I don't use a hair conditioner on my chest. Now, I'm a huge fan.
That's where you're missing.
Jack Black's and Keel's products, wonderful. And trust me,
you have to really kind of scrub. Like when I'm in the, if you could just picture me in the shower real quick. And
no, I'd rather not.
I'll do the full soap thing. There we go. That's a little preview right there. And then I have specifically a body hair conditioner. So I'll go all in here, condition, kind of the happy trail. I'll leave the rest kind of up to your imagination there. But I get up in there as well because you want to condition all the way throughout. You want it to be nice. And it strengthens the fibers of the hair. Like you couldn't even, give this a yank. Like give it a yank. You wouldn't even be able to pull. I
just intentionally zoned out and came back in time to hear, give it a yank.
You wouldn't even be able to pull any of these out. They are so firmly entrenched and rooted in my skin, in my body, because of what I've done. It's a serious hair care.
How do
regimen.
you not have an endorsement deal with either a Brillo pad or a Drano company?
People do skincare regimen, they do hair regimen. I do a body hair regimen to keep all of that. This is a product I am selling you.
But nobody's buying it. That's the problem. You're selling it, but
contraire,
nobody's buying it.
Au contraire.
Who's buying it?
There are lots of it. All the viewers at home, there's a reason why we have this show, Jake. If I didn't have any of this, like if I trimmed this up or whatever, I'm like, you think people would sponsor this show? No one would care. This show is a sports show. It also sells sex. That's what people want when they tune in. They like our sports opinions, but they are also, I think there is that underlying
I have terrible
turn
news.
on sort of
I
a
have
thing by
terrible
looking at us.
news for you, Derek. I have terrible news for you.
I've looked at the metrics, so you
Okay.
can share
Good.
your hypotheses.
Good. I have
with me if you
terrible
want.
news that I'm about to break to Derek Schultz, and I want you, the listening audience, to hear his reaction when I break this to him. This incredible mane of chest hair that you have, this incredible happy trail of which you brag, okay?
It's a roadmap to success.
Okay, sure. This raccoon in the boxers that you've got, you go in for a medical emergency, and two things happen. The first is they take care of you and basically save your life. And the other is when you lay down just before that, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to hear one of two things. You're either going to hear them say, let's go, it's go time, or you're going to hear, and two nurses are going to come over with a razor that is literally the width of that laptop. And guess what? It is Toro time.
You're wrong. You're wrong. I'll tell you why. Because I signed a DNR, and it said in the DNR, I do not want to be shaved to have anything.
Well,
put on me.
I got news for you then. I hope along with that DNR, you've got all your arrangements set up.
I'd rather perish than have them take this from me.
Okay, well, that's going to be the worst smelling cremation
And
of all
something
time.
else, my heart doesn't suck. So, like, those are the differences really kind of between
Well, it's just a matter of
us
time, buddy.
as well.
Just a matter of time.
Those differences.
You think all those little packs of Joe Capiola menthol cigarettes are just
My
they're
lungs
just
have mostly
parted?
regenerated over the years. Thank you. Okay. I quit before my 30th birthday, so I'm good.
Okay.
Let's get to our Love That Play. It's brought to you by our friends at Love
And I'm
Heating
sure they're
Cooling.
thrilled that we are.
I don't know what happened to this show. I had a good show planned, and I don't
Okay.
know what happened to it. Love-HVAC.com, 353-2141 for our friends at Love Heating Cooling. They've been in business for over 100 years. I think we actually used Messi, if I don't remember, but this dude's incredible. Like,
Question for you. And Greg is going to get mad when I ask
Okay.
this. I don't
know if I can answer because I'm not as much of an expert.
I don't mean this as a knock. What Messi is doing for Miami in the MLS is amazing, and it's great because it's got people like us talking. But is it bringing awareness to the MLS, or is it exposing the MLS as something that clearly the gap is that great between it and true Premier level soccer?
I think there is a little bit of, Kobe Bryant going to Italy and dropping 50 a
Correct.
game. Yeah, that doesn't mean that Italy's not a great league, and the MLS is certainly accruing talent, and it's getting better and better. But still, I don't care what level you're playing at. 7 goals in 4 games is obscene. That's
No
crazy.
question.
It's a crazy amount of goals. He scored 2 more on Sunday as they drew level with FC Dallas and then ended up winning. I believe our buddy Mac Engel was at the game.
Correct.
Because he was writing a column for the Fort Worth Telegram about it. But he's scored in all 4 matches.
I believe
Like I
he
said,
said
7
it was like
goals.
watching Ohtani play double-A ball.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. I mean, we're talking about it, right? On a show that doesn't normally talk, certainly not MLS. And, Greg, if I'm not mistaken, that was a playoff game, right? Oh, it's an in-season tournament. Okay, but it's not just run-of-the-mill regular season game. So it's something that I still don't fully understand. All the in-season tournaments. I know there's a U.S. Open Cup, and like they play, and obviously the Premier League does that too.
The shaver thing is like this wide. It looks like a huge.
Are we talking soccer still?
It looks like a huge lint roller, and I mean it's high duty.
I'd probably just get the clippings and then replant. You can kind of laser put those hairs back in, resod the playing field, if you will.
Yeah,
that's probably what I would do.
Hygienically, they give them back to you. I did ask for my gallstones back when I had that
Gross.
done.
And your wisdom teeth, apparently, as we saw last week.
I have a picture.
353-2141,
Thank you for
love-hvc.com.
asking.
Let's move on before Jake finds this photo. When we come back, quick hits. More soccer, a quiet exit for Team USA in the World Cup, and a Mascot Hall of Fame induction. Can
I guess?
Two amazing mascots getting in.
Is Rocky one of them?
Rocky's not one of them. I'll tell you who when we come back. This is Corey and Schultz, ISC
Thing's a
Sports
fraud
Network.
then.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back. It's Bailey and Wood. Morgan's Lender presents Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks for joining the show, whether you're watching on
Thanks
ISC.
for still sticking around today.
Maybe you're streaming us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or X, Facebook. Where else are we? Podcast. So you can be listening to us right now.
You said Mascot Hall of Fame?
Mascot Hall of Fame. Well, let me get to the quick hits. It's part of the quick hits. Quiet exit for the Team USA in the World Cup. If you woke up early Sunday morning, you saw USA be defeated by Sweden in PKs, so they get knocked out in the round of 16, which, if I remember right, was the same result that the men had in their last World Cup, getting knocked out in the round of 16. Veteran leadership was called into question, but essentially, Jake, they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. They only scored 4 goals in 4 games. By all accounts, they really dominated the Sweden game, and Sweden's one of the best teams in the world, but that's the problem with soccer. You can dominate a game and still lose. Some of it is luck and timing and circumstance, and I guess none of that was on. It just felt like something was off. Remember the 2014 playoffs for the Pacers? Pacers still made the Eastern Conference Finals that year, remember?
Right.
But they were tooth and nail with Atlanta, and then they were seemingly tooth and nail with Washington. And it just felt off. Like something didn't feel right with the team anymore. And that was certainly the case with the women's team this year. It just didn't. It wasn't a vintage. It wasn't ever a vintage
and I mean,
performance
one
for
of their
them.
better players is aging, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
a lot of that core. I mean, Alex Morgan, Rapinoe,
Right.
they'd been around for the 2011 World Cup when they made it all the way to the final. And they won the last 2, so they can rest on their laurels a little bit, unlike the men. But clearly disappointing for them to be knocked out in the round of 16. It's one thing to lose in the final or maybe in the semis, but round of 16 is even to a great Sweden side is really disappointing.
is it a professional or college mascot?
It's a college mascot and then a minor league baseball mascot that I know about, but I'm not sure how many other people know about. It's a little niche Northeast.
Sock puppets.
No, not the sock puppets. Separate tiers for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's what Deion Sanders says. He actually alluded this a year ago, but it got more play this year as you kind of had you had a Hall of Fame class this year that was kind of Ken Riley, who was the Bengals cornerback, who apparently had 65 interceptions, but like never made a Pro Bowl and made like one All-Pro team. He played on a bunch of bad Cincinnati teams. He retired 40 years ago, and suddenly he's a Hall of Famer, and people are like, do we want to keep doing this?
I'm going to confess something here and perhaps humiliate myself.
You've never heard of Ken Riley?
But Greg Rakestraw, who, of course, everybody knows Greg Rakestraw and is a big part of this show, but is sitting on the other side of the glass with us right now.
You might be maxing out the mic by getting that close to it.
Okay.
So do hushed tones.
I know Greg is going to say he had. I had no recollection of Ken Riley. Greg, thumb up or thumb down? Yeah.
I mean, he would have last played in like the mid '80s.
I know Isaac Curtis. I know Pete Johnson and Archie Griffin and some pretty
Ken Anderson. They've been campaigning for.
But
a
I'm
long
saying
time.
I'm aware of some pretty pedestrian Bengals players. I when I heard Ken Riley's name, I'm like, I don't. And maybe he's like a big deal in Cincinnati. I don't know. I wasn't overly familiar with him.
when he retired, he was like third or fourth most all time in interceptions, and he's still way up there.
Yeah.
But that's literally like the only thing he has. I mean, he was. I don't know.
Who else was in?
I think we need to just start appreciating guys' careers without making. And this isn't even a Ken Riley thing. Making them into something that they're not. Like, I still love Don Mattingly. He's not a Hall of Famer, and that's fine.
I think once you're in the Hall of Fame, there shouldn't be. You're a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's it. There has to be something for fans to talk about. If you classify the Hall of Fame into like groupings of Hall of Fame, whatever, it's a discredit.
It's ridiculous.
To all of it, yeah.
There were at least 2 truly elite players in this class. Joe Thomas and DeMarcus Ware are 2 unbelievable elite level Hall of Fame. DeMarcus Ware should have gotten in last year. The fact that he had to wait a year is ridiculous. But the rest of the group, Zach Thomas had been waiting a long time. Darrelle Revis at his very best was a really good player. I think there's a shorter window there. Rondé Barber.
He's good.
Fine.
Yeah.
Last year's class was the big example of, wasn't it like Leroy Butler and like, it was a bunch of guys that had been waiting around forever and you're like, really, is this guy a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I get Deion's point. I do think that the Hall of Fames are starting to get a little bit watered down. Like there are people that are like, is Mark Jackson a Hall of Famer? And I'm like, the point guard? No. I mean, there's not a universe where Mark Jackson is a Hall of Fame player. Give me a break.
Right. Basketball Hall of Fame is a little different criteria.
But again, kind of like Ken Riley, I mean, he's like 3rd or 4th, I think, all-time in assists.
Right.
It's because he played forever. I didn't want to get too far off track. Congrats to Kyle Kirkwood, win number 2 of the season. What a weird year for Kirkwood. He's either basically won or been completely like off the grid. No other podiums or top 5s, and he's finished out of the top 10 8 times in 13 races. But he's just 24 years old, Jake, and it's not like Andretti Autosport's got a lot going for it here recently. So good for him.
He's a massive talent. People knew coming in he was a talent. He dominated in the road to Indy, and here he is. Drove for Foyt for a year and kind of learned from that year, and one would assume he's going to stick around that team, if not even higher, moving forward.
A less messy Nashville race, right?
Correct.
Than
Although
what we see the first 2 years?
towards the end, the heat started to weigh in and a couple of crashes, but yeah.
I'm excited about that being the season finale.
And
I know the drivers don't like it.
Different course as well.
Yeah, I know the drivers don't like it, but like Laguna Seca.
By the way, you need to get a nose hair trimmer.
What? I just trimmed this up. They grow back very fast.
Clearly.
They grow back. That is one area where I'll trim, and my ears. And I'll trim in this my nether regions too. I'll trim up. And I'll even take a straight blade sometimes. So, is that too much? Should we get that in post? Just for a comfort thing more than anything else. I just like it to be kind of sleek so it moves around okay. Doesn't get caught up or anything.
There are a couple of inductees into the Mascot Hall of Fame, and they are give me the conference.
God, isn't this sad that after conference realignment I have to think about this? ACC, but you would never associate them with the ACC.
Syracuse Orange.
Yeah, Otto the Orange is in.
Okay,
yeah, he's one of the 2. I mean, iconic, famous
for sure
mascot, right?
Okay, so Otto the Orange, and then where did Otto Porter Jr. play? He played at Georgetown, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. The other one you said is a
minor league baseball team, AAA team.
But it's in the Northeast?
Yeah. Portland, Maine.
Oh, hold on. Are they the Dogs of some sort?
Sea Dogs.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And his name is Slugger. And he's he's an icon in Portland and Maine.
Is Rowdy in?
If you did a Mount Rushmore of Maine figures, I think Slugger would be one of the 4.
Would it be Stephen King, Slugger, and Matthew?
Duncan Robinson. Wasn't a president from Maine? Do we have a president from Maine?
Cooper Flagg or whatever his name is?
Cooper Kupp?
No, the number 1 high school player in the country.
Presidents from the state of Maine.
What?
Lists of presidents by their home state.
Yeah, I mean,
there's got to be somebody from
Franklin
Maine.
Pierce is from New Hampshire. That's got to be about as close, right?
There has not been a president from Maine.
Well, what a shock.
There's also not been a president from Indiana, but I think that we knew that.
Benjamin Harrison's from Indiana. Wasn't born, I realized.
No, so he's not from Indiana. Yeah,
but he ran as a representative of Indiana.
Not from Indiana. Thanks. Okay. Thanks for playing. I mean, because even Lincoln is not listed as Illinois. And you know the only president that was born in Illinois, don't you? I actually did know this.
Hold on.
There's only been one. And like Lincoln, he is not associated with this state basically whatsoever. A very famous president.
How famous?
One of this is a hard conversation to have because obviously any president from the 20th century would be more famous than a president from like the 19th outside of like Lincoln or somebody like that. But he'd be in the unquestionably be in the top 10. But there are a lot of people who feel very strongly one way or the other about this president.
Teddy Roosevelt.
No, but you're kind of on the right track. They elicit strong feelings either pro or against. And I will say this. I don't think his presidency has aged very well.
Was he president in my lifetime?
Yes.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I thought everybody knew. You made it sound like he wasn't associated with Illinois. I mean, I
He
knew
isn't
he's
really, right? He's associated with California, right?
No, I think he's associated by a lot of people in his younger life with Illinois because of the fact that, he called he went to Eureka College? No, where'd he go to college? Millikan? Yeah, he went to Millikan. Like he's from
What's Millikan?
The Springfield type area, and he did baseball games there.
Is
and
Millikan
then
a university? I've never heard of that.
he did the Iowa Cubs on radio.
He did?
Ronald Reagan?
Did the Iowa Cubs?
Ronald Reagan was a baseball play-by-play guy that did baseball throughout the state of Illinois on reading it off as the reports came in off ticker tape.
God, I was wasting my time learning about him in like Iran-Contra, and I should really have been learning more about his past life instead of the political stuff. Okay. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, the Portland Sea Dogs mascot. Yeah, he's getting into the mascot.
Is Boomer in?
I don't know. I couldn't find a mascot list. Matthew, our buddy from Maine, is the one that told me about it. They're real proud in Maine of Slugger. So that's why he wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
We'll come back, wrap up the show next. Chateau Kitchens, buy it or bull bleep. It's been a weird show. You feel like a weird show? Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back, final time. Here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jay Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks again to all of our great sponsors. I guess we'll do the billboards at the very end, but our friends at Bailey and Wood
Try not to be
Group.
so excited.
Chateau Kitchens, Love Heating and Cooling, Chili Water Brewing,
Hoagie and hops.
Hoagies and Hops.
Yeah.
Hoagies, plural, and hops, plural. Speaking of Chateau, Biter Bull Bleep, they are going to take care of all of the projects inside the walls of your house. I know it's Chateau Kitchens, but they also do bathrooms. They did my basement, and they do amazing work. You can see for yourself at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram, at Chateau Kitchens on Facebook, and their website, chateaukitchens.com, for all of the before and after pictures. Awesome work, and they've been in my house and they did a kitchen, they did a bathroom, they basically did all three of the things that they do for us. And they did wonderful work each time. And
by the way, they
can't
do
say enough about them.
They do not, unless you specifically request it because you are a psychopath, take pictures of you in your bathrobe.
They can, and they probably have. Or they would, if I asked them. That's how the customer is always right. Thank you for bringing that up, Jake.
Can you let me
With
know
our
if
friends
you
at
done
Chateau
that?
Kitchens.
Okay.
And that customer looks really right, if you know what I mean. Here's what we do with Buy It or Bull Bleep. I give a statement, we go back and forth whether we buy it or it's Bull Bleep. You ready for number one? We kind of just talked about this, and I have a feeling where you're going. Statement one, should all Hall of Fames have separate tiers?
No.
Buy it or Bull Bleep.
No, it's the dumbest thing ever. I mean, baseball, you get it anyway because you know the voting percentage.
Yeah, and first ballot,
Right.
First ballot, unanimous. You know, Jimmy Johnson wasn't even a unanimous Hall of Fame pick, and then how ridiculous is that? Can you imagine being a voter in that, and Jimmy Johnson is on your ballot, and you don't check that box? I mean, what's wrong with you?
Derek, Mariano Rivera is a unanimous Hall of Fame
That's
inductee,
what's so stupid.
and Babe Ruth isn't.
But I think that's the thing, Jake. Like, you needed someone, and remember, I think people thought it was going to be Griffey Jr., and Griffey Jr. ended up like 1 or 2 votes short.
Yeah.
You needed somebody to just break that dam, and it just happened to be Rivera. But I think the fact that unanimous was even a thing is stupid. It's a Hall of Fame. Harold Baines is in it, and Babe Ruth is in it. And everyone with a brain knows that Babe Ruth was a better player than Harold Baines, but
Right.
they are both Hall of Famers.
Right.
Like it or not. You know?
I'm a voter for a Hall of Fame.
North Central, right?
No. Well, that too. No, North Central, I'm not a voter.
Oh, I thought as a Hall of Famer, as an enshrinee, you
I get
automatically
asked
get it.
if there's anyone I want to submit. But I'm not
Gotcha.
one of the
Okay, that's what
voters.
it is. Okay, no, it's IndyCar? Or IMS, sorry.
I think I'm allowed to say this. Yes, I'm one of the voters for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway
Sweet.
Hall of Fame. I take it pretty serious.
You should.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel really strongly
I mean,
about
I
that.
research heavily. I actually, you'll at least, Derek, appreciate this. Every year when the ballot comes, I make a photocopy for myself of who I vote for, so that the
Stay
next
consistent.
correct.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I'm
smart.
like, well, if I voted for him last year, I have to vote for him this
I
year.
don't think the baseball voters do that, and that's why they get called into question. Like, why'd you vote for this guy but not, why'd you vote for him this year but not the next year?
Right.
I say bullweep. I don't think it should happen. The Big Ten will wait for the ACC to potentially chip away before adding new members. Bot or bullweep? Or do you think it'll be Notre Dame?
Both
and
Schultz.
Stanford?
I think it'll.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Big Ten in all of this has done what they've done because they don't wait for anybody.
Yeah, the second that Notre Dame even alluded to being available, the Big Ten would pounce, I think. I think that's kind of the one that they've been wanting for a long time. But, Jake, I think it's North Carolina makes a lot of sense for the Big Ten.
It does. I mean, it does.
Stanford, to me, only makes sense as a dance partner for Notre Dame.
Right.
That's why, it would be like recruiting. I'm trying to think of a good example here.
I feel like
Todd Leary to get Eric Montross, right?
Right.
And Todd Leary is a good player. He's a Big Ten player, right? Stanford is a good program, and they've had success in football, but you're only really going after them because you want to get the big fish.
I do think that Stanford. I'm starting to think that Stanford, if Notre Dame in particular is lukewarm, whatever, Stanford only comes if they get Cal with them.
Yeah, and at that point, it doesn't really make much sense for the Big Ten to add Stanford and Cal. They've already got California,
Right. The state of California.
They're
right.
just not. Stanford and Cal just really don't add a
Have
whole
you been
lot
on
to the
Cal's
table.
campus?
No. I've never been to Berkeley. I've been to many locales in California, but never. And I've never been to Palo Alto. My cousin used to go every year to see Notre Dame play there.
Also
but,
nice, yeah.
yeah.
Well, they don't play there every year.
How close?
You mean every other year?
Every other year. How close is that to St. Mary's, Palo Alto? Because they're both in the same
Good question.
area, right?
Yeah, Palo Alto's south of the Bay Area, and St. Mary's is on the eastern end of the Bay Area, so I'd say hour and 40.
Okay. So St. Mary's isn't in San Francisco proper, right?
No, St. Mary's is on the – so here's the Bay, right?
Yeah.
San Francisco's right here. Oakland is on the other side of the Bay, and it's on the Oakland side.
Okay, gotcha. We're talking about Jake took a visit to St. Mary's one time. You had to shower or poop or something, right? And then you saw Randy Bennett.
What?
What was this? You were on an IndyCar trip, and you were trying to stop at wasn't there a story where you're trying to stop at a country club because you didn't want to use a gas station bathroom, and then you ended up at St. Mary's campus somehow?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, we've only got 1 minute.
We did the radio show for the Final Four. We met Randy Bennett because he was walking around doing Radio Row. We interviewed him. Turns out his mom lived in Southport at the time. I exchanged phone numbers with him, became buddies with him. He's like, you ever come to the Bay Area? Come to the campus. So we did, and he took me around the entire campus in his car with Nick Yeoman. It was awesome. In a separate visit to the Bay Area, I was doing a race in Southern Bay Area
had to poop.
at Laguna Seca. Had to shower.
Okay, that's
stopped
what it was.
at the Palo Alto Golf Club and Resort. Went in.
Got it.
Spent an hour, showered, shaved, grabbed a towel.
Statement
left.
3. They should stop playing in Canton for the Hall of Fame game. Buy it.
Yeah,
They had
100%.
bathroom showers problems.
100%
The place is
buy
a
it.
dump. Canton sucks. I'm sorry to say that. It was very underwhelming when we
Every
went
year
there,
they have
but
issue.
Thanks to our great sponsors, Chili Water Brewing, Hoagies and Hops, Chateau Kitchens.
Love Heating and Air.
Bailey and Wood Financial Group and Love Heating and Air. For Vince and Greg, he's Jake. I'm Derek. Bye. Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.